Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back again to 1908. If you haven't paid much attention to it before, here are the standings. Tigers are playing against the Naps today. Naps are 3.5 games out. Tigers are 2.5 out, and this has been really close here in the American League the entire time. Let's go ahead and get this one on the road. I'm sorry, this is not the Naps. This is the White Sox. My apologies. Yes, the White Sox are actually 2 games out. It doesn't really matter because these teams are all kind of knocked in there, crammed in there together. It's the difference between CLE and CHA, and I get stuff like this wrong all the time. Here's Patsy Doherty, rolls a 12 for a 25. That does bring up a little E roll, which is a 44 out of the range. That means it's going to be a ground ball over to the second baseman Downs, who makes the play. Over to first for the out, 1 away. George Davis now rolls a 32 for a 26. It's another ground ball over to Downs, who throws to first for the out, 2 away. Fielder Jones rolls a 13 for a 14, and he will walk. That brings up Jiggs Donahue with the runner on at first. He rolls a 14 for a 43. There's the little E roll. It's a 61 out of the range. It's a fly ball over to center field, and that does it. Crawford has it for the out. We go to the bottom of the first. Germany Schaefer up there now. And Schaefer rolls a 46 for a 27. That's a ground ball over to the third baseman, Tannehill. Picks it up, throws to first for the out, 1 away. Matty McIntyre now rolls a 54 for a 45. It's a fly ball over to Hahn and right for the out, 2 away. Ty Cobb rolls a 36 for a 33. That's going to be a strikeout. We go to the top of the second. Ed Walsh out there for the White Sox, and that's what happens when Ed Walsh is pitching. Here's Ed Hahn. He rolls a 61 for a 40, changed to a 23. That's going to be a little bunt that Thomas makes a poor throw on, and that'll put Hahn on at first base. Nobody out, and here comes Billy Sullivan, and Hahn is not going to be able to do very much. Hitless wonders, true to their name, no hits. Roll for Sullivan's a 23 for a 39. It's a fly ball over to right field. Cobb has it for the out, 1 away. Here comes Lee Tannehill, and he rolls a 22 for an 8. That's going to be a single to left center field. That'll send Hahn over to third. First hit of this ball game, and that'll bring up Jake Atz. And we will bring the infield in, and we'll let Atz swing away. He rolls a 31 for a 14, and he walks. And now the bases are loaded here for Ed Walsh. Infield comes in. Walsh is going to bunt. 1 out here, top of the second. And Walsh rolls a 43 for a 29, and that's going to be a little bunt over to Coughlin, who throws over to Thomas at the plate for the force out. Walsh makes it over to first base. Base is still loaded, and here is Patsy Doherty. Patsy rolls a 43 for a 29. That's going to be a little comebacker over to Mullen. Throws over to first for the out. We go to the bottom of the second. White Sox had the bases loaded. Didn't score. Here's Sam Crawford. Crawford rolls a 31 for an 8. That's a pop fly over to Tannehill, third baseman, 1 away. Claude Rossman now rolls a 12 for a 24. Here's a little E-roll, and it's a 13. And that will end up being a 21 is what is changed to for an error on the first baseman, Donahue. And here comes Coughlin with the runner on at first. Coughlin rolls a 66 for a 0, then a 55 for a 6, and that'll be a double. That'll send Rossman only as far as third base. And so with 1 out, here's Red Downs, and here in comes the infield here. And we're probably not going to bunt with the slow Rossman on at third. The roll is a 63 for a 30. It's a fly ball over to left field. Doherty has it, but his throw is far too late to catch the runner. Doherty with a poor arm. It's 1-0 Tigers. Here is Ira Thomas, who rolls a 44 for a 7. That's a single to right field, and that will score another runner. Ed Walsh and his A can't stop that. And here is George Mullen. Mullen rolls a 14 for a 43. And here is the little E-roll. It's going to be 53 out of the range. This little fly ball over to center field. Jones has it for the out. We go to the top of the third. George Davis up there now. Davis rolls a 31 for 14, and that's a walk, and that'll bring up Fielder Jones. Davis, we'll take a look at his card, does have that 11, which is what we want to see. You can see that my criteria is not too complicated. Fielder Jones up there rolls a 45 for a 14. That means that Davis will steal the base. That's why we look for the 11. Jones up there now, runner on at second, rolls a 45 again for another 14, and he takes his walk. Mullen has walked 4 already. It feels like 1949, doesn't it? Here's Jiggs Donahue. Donahue rolls a 25 for a 9, and that's a ground ball over to Coughlin at third. Throws over to first for the out. The runners move up. Apologies. Brings up Ed Hahn. 2 on, 1 out, top of the third, and they're going to play the infield back here, I think. The rolls a 46 for a 29. That's a comeback over to Mullen. He looks Davis back and throws over to first for the out. 2 away, and here's Billy Sullivan. And he rolls a 35 for a 13. That's a strikeout. We go to the bottom of the third inning, and it's Germany Schaefer. So White Sox need to figure out a way how to get some hits. Schaefer rolls an 11 for a 0, and then a 46. There we go, for a 6. It's a double to right center field. That'll bring up Matty McIntyre, runner on at second base now. Nobody out for the Tigers. McIntyre rolls a 62 for a 12. That'll be a strikeout. 1 away. Here's Ty Cobb, and that's strikeout number 2 for Walsh. Cobb rolls a 33 for a 6. Single column, or first column rather, 6. He's got 2 of those, and then that 2 on 66. That's a double, of course, that will score the run, and that makes it a 3-0 game for the Tigers. Here is Sam Crawford. Crawford rolls a 25 for a 7. He singles to right field. That scores Cobb. 1 out. Runner on first base is Crawford. Hit and runs on. Rolls a 26 for a 29. That's a comeback over to Walsh, who throws over to first for the out. 2 away as Crawford moves to second. And up now, Coughlin rolls a 44 for an 8. That's another comebacker over to Walsh, throws to first for the out. We go to the top of the 4th. Lee Tannehill up there rolls a 36 for a 33. And the next rolls a 65. That's going to be a little pop fly over to the second baseman. It's Downs who has it for the out, 1 away. Jake Atz now rolls a 55 for a 9. That's a pop fly over to Coughlin, a third, 2 away. And here's Ed Walsh. He rolls a 45 for a 14 and takes his base. Up next, Patsy Doherty. And he rolls a 54 for a 45, and this will be a little E roll. It's a 25 out of the range. That's a fly ball over to center field. Crawford has that one for the out. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Another fast-moving game here, mostly because the White Sox are not hitting the ball. Here's Red Downs. Rolls a 51 for a 9. There's a single over short against Walsh. 6th hit against Walsh, and here comes Zero Thomas. Thomas rolls a 16 for a 28. That's just a ground ball over to Atz, the shortstop, who has to throw to first. No play at second. Downs will move up to second base. 1 out here, and here is George Mullen, who rolls a 44 for a 7. That's a single, and that will score the run. It's 5-0 Tigers. Germany Schaefer up there now, runner on at first. He rolls a 25 for an 11. That will be a single, sends Mullen to third. Schaefer will steal second. And, man, Walsh does not have his A game today. And here comes Matty McIntyre, who rolls a 44 for a 7. That'll be a single. That'll score 2. And 7-0 is a score. That's it for Walsh. That is it for Ed Walsh. And they got to find somebody here who can come in long relief. I think Nick Altrog is going to be the pitcher. And so much for Big Ed Walsh, who has probably his worst outing of the season, at least to this point. Of course, I don't have all of his season stats in front of me now because I just took him out. Ultra comes up there, and this is his second appearance, I believe, and Cobb rolls a 62 against him for a 12. That's a strikeout. That'll be the second out, and here comes Sam Crawford with McIntyre still on second. Crawford rolls a 13 for a 40, and that's going to be a fly ball over to right field, and easy for Hahn, who makes the play. We go to the top of the 5th. George Davis up there for the White Sox. Davis rolls a 24 for a 13. He'll strike out. 1 away. Fielder Jones now rolls a 51 for a 9. That's a pop fly over to Coughlin in third base. Second out. 2 away. Here's Jiggs Donahue. He rolls a 21 for a 30. That's a fly ball over to left field, and Doherty has it for the out. McIntyre has it for the out. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Now I look at the White Sox for the defense. Claude Rossman up there rolls a 25 for an 8, and that's a single off of Nick Altrox. Hit number 10 for the Tigers, and that'll bring up Bill Coughlin. Coughlin rolls a 12 for a 24. That's a ground ball over to short. Atz has it. Goes over to Davis for 1. On to Donahue at first for the double play. 2 outs now, and here's Red Downs, who rolls a 54 for a 45. And here's that little E roll. It's a 14. That'll change to 21. That's going to be an error on the first baseman, Donahue, and that will allow Downs to reach first. Here's Zero Thomas. Thomas rolls a 65 for a 35. That's a pop fly over to Sullivan, the catcher, for the out. We go to the top of the 6th. Still 7-0 Tigers. Up first, Ed Hahn rolls an 11 for a 0, and then a 54 for an 11. That'll be a single, and he'll steal second. And up now is Billy Sullivan. Bunting won't help you now. Sullivan rolls a 53 for a 19, and he gets hit by the pitch. The runner's on at first and second here for Lee Tannehill. Tannehill rolls a 41 for a 28. That's a ground ball over to the shortstop, Schaefer, who flips over to Downs for 1. They can't complete the double play, though. Hahn moves over to third, and here's Jake Atz. Remember, the White Sox early in this game had the bases loaded, couldn't score anything at all. Here, late in the game, they still can't score. Atz rolls a 51 for a 14. That'll be a walk, and that'll bring up Nick Altrock. That is walk number 6 given up by Mullen. Altrock, the pitcher, will stay in. He rolls a 44 for an 8, and that's going to be a single, which will allow 2 to score. Atz moves to third. Now it's a 7-2 ball game, and now the White Sox finally getting their base hits and coming back. Only the third hit of the game, though, for Chicago. Patsy Doherty rolls a 35 for 14. Walk number 7 given up by Mullen, and that'll bring up George Davis. And he rolls a 31 for a 14, and Mullen has given up his 8th walk and walked in a run. It's a 4-run game now. Jones represents the potential tying run at the plate. Jones rolls a 25 for a 10, and that's another single that will score 2, and then Jones steals a base. Mullen will lead off the bottom of the 6th, and I think we're going to take him out then. Jiggs Donahue up there now. And, yeah, we're going to bunt with Donahue. Infield will stay back. This is sort of a surprise bunt. That's a foul strike. The next bunt comes up there. It's a 14 for 43. There is a little E roll to worry about. It's a 66 way out of the range. That'll be a bunt over to Coughlin at the left side, who's only plays at first base, and that'll score the run. 7-6 now is the score, and here's Ed Hahn. Hahn rolls a 32 for a 26, and that's going to be a little ground ball over to second base. The second baseman Downs has it, throws to first for the out. And we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. So 6 runs for the White Sox there in the top of the 6th. And we're going to see a pinch hitter come in here. It's going to be Davy Jones. Davy Jones will pinch hit for the pitcher. Jones, only 1 plate appearance this season so far, no hits. That's what happens when I haven't put you in the lineup. I don't want to take out Crawford or Cobb. I guess the other one I could take out is McIntyre, but I think he's been hitting better. And Jones rolls a 65 for a 35. That's a little pop-up over to the third baseman Tannehill for the first out. Here comes Germany Schaefer. Schaefer rolls a 14 for a 43. It's a fly ball over to Doherty in left field, and he goes down quietly. 2 outs. Here's Matty McIntyre. He rolls a 14 for a 43, and the little E rolls a 64 out of the range. That's another fly ball over to left field. Doherty has it for the out. We go to the top of the 7th inning, and now we have to figure out who we want to put in here to pitch. Don't want Donovan or Killian. Probably, let's see here. I think, probably Suggs is who we want. George Suggs is going to be the relief pitcher here. He has pitched 4 innings already. 3.13 batting against average and 6.75 ERA, and he's up against Billy Sullivan. The roll is a 56 for a 34, and here comes that little E roll. It's a 61, which means it's out of the range. It's going to be a little pop fly over to the shortstop. Schaefer has it for the first out. Here's Lee Tannehill. Rolls a 22 for an 8. That's a single to left center field, 5th hit of the game for the White Sox, and that'll bring up Jake Adds. Does Tannehill have that 11? No. We're going to stay away from doing anything foolhardy. Adds rolls a 24 for a 13 and strikes out, which is good that we didn't have the hit and run on. Altrock up there now. Rolls a 65 for a 35. That's a pop-up over to the catcher Thomas. We go to the bottom of the 7th, and here comes Ty Cobb. Cobb up there rolls a 51 for an 8 and gets a single to left center field. That means Cobb is 2 for 4 today. That'll bring up Sam Crawford. You bet we're hitting and running with Cobb on. Rolls a 46 for a 29. It's a comebacker to Altrock, who has to go to first with it. Cobb goes up to second. He's in scoring position, and here is Claude Rossman. Rossman 1 for 3 today. Rolls a 56 for a 34. It's a high pop-up over to Davis at second for the out. 2 away. Bill Coughlin now rolls a 42 for a 39. Changed to a 38. It's going to be a single between third and short. Cobb is able to make it over to third base despite where the ball was hit. And Coughlin now is at first, and that'll bring up Red Downs with 2 out. 1 for 2 today for Downs. He rolls a 52 for a 27, and that's going to be a little ground ball over to third base. Tannehill has it, throws over to first for the out. We go to the top of the 8th. Patsy Doherty up there now rolls a 51 for an 11, so he gets the base hit and steals second. That'll bring up George Davis. Davis, not really much of a hitter. 0 for 2 today, will bunt. His bunt's a 32 for a 26. It's a comebacker to Suggs, who has to go to first with it. Here's Fielder Jones. In comes the infield. Fielder Jones can do some damage. 1 for 2 today, hitting 268 this season with 354 on base percentage. And he rolls a 33 for a 7, and we have a tie ball game. Just like that, this game is tied. And suddenly this game has become very, very interesting and very exciting. What was once a complete blowout has turned into a really, really intense game. And that's what can happen here when you're playing with a season like 1908. This has been really, really remarkable. So Jones gets that base hit here in the top of the 8th inning. Only 1 out still. And that makes this a one-run ball game. Or, I'm sorry, a tie ball game. And up next is who? Up next is going to be Hahn. So Jones gets that RBI, and let's see what we have happen next. I'm going to take a quick look over at Jones. He does have the 11, so we are going to hit and run. We're going to pull everything out of our back pocket, as we usually do. Jiggs Donahue up there rolls 53 for a 20, and that's a little ground ball over to second base. It's Downs who makes the play, throws to first for the out. Jones moves up to second. 2 away now for Ed Hahn. Runner in scoring position, though. And the roll's a 14 for a 43. It's a fly ball over to center field. Crawford has it for the out. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. It'll be Ira Thomas to lead this off. Thomas rolls a 26 for a 13 and strikes out. 1 away. Here is George Suggs, and we are going to let him hit for himself. Suggs rolls a 62 for a 12. There is a little E roll. The roll is a 14 in the range, so that changes to an 18. That's going to be an error here on the shortstop Atz. And judging from his 6 rating, I'm guessing that's not the last time he's going to have an error in this season. Suggs, of course, doesn't have the ability to do any sort of running, so we're going to just do what we can with him. Germany Schaefer up there now rolls a 53 for an 18, changed to a 16, and that's a little fly ball over to center field. Jones has it for the out, 2 away, and here's Matty McIntyre. McIntyre rolls a 35 for a 9, and that's going to be a single through the infield with Altrock pitching as a D. That's why you have to be careful about putting in those relief hitter or pitchers. That means that Suggs is on a second, McIntyre on a first, and here comes Ty Cobb. And Cobb rolls a 64 for a 9. It's going to be another hit, and that'll fill the bases. And so this game, which had been so interesting, so uninteresting to start out, has become extremely interesting here, as you never know what's going to happen in this one. And the Tigers look like they just might be able to break this one open once again. So let's see what happens. Bases are loaded, 2 outs. Sam Crawford up there. Crawford already 1 for 4 today, and hitting .258 on the season. And he rolls a 36 for a 14, and that's going to be a ball against Altrock, who has that Z. Ball 1 against Crawford. Next roll is a 46 for a 29. This little comebacker over to Altrock, throws to first for the out. That's pretty simple. It's a long result here, but it's a pretty simple result on the score sheet. Up we go to the top of the 9th. It'll be Billy Sullivan. Sullivan rolls a 36 for a 33. That's a pop-up over to the second baseman Downs for the first out, 1 away. Next up, Tannehill rolls a 34 for a 44, and here comes that little E roll. It's a 23 within the range. That means it's changed to 22. It's an error on Suggs, the pitcher. Here comes Jake Atz now with Tannehill on at first base. Atz will bunt, take away that no-steal attempt, and he rolls a 24 for a 13. We'll have him bunt one more time. 36 for a 33, and that's a bad bunt back to Suggs, who turns around, whips that one over to Schaefer. It's covering at second. Atz makes it to first. Now there's 2 away, and here comes Nick Altrock. We will keep him in this game. Altrock rolls a 23 for a 13 and strikes out. We go to the bottom of the 9th. Here's Claude Rossman, and he rolls a 36 for a 14 and takes his base after the walk. Doesn't have that 11 that we like. It'll bring up Bill Coughlin, who's going to bunt. He rolls a 61 for a 32. That's a bunt over the left side. Third baseman Tannehill has it, throws over to first. Rossman moves up to second base, and so here is Red Downs now with a chance to drive in the run. Downs 1 for 3 today, and he rolls a 44 for an 8. That's going to be a single, and the runner attempts to score and can't quite make it. He's thrown out at home. The play goes from Jones to Sullivan, and this game is getting better and better. So the potential winning run thrown out of the plate, let's see here. There we go. Potential winning run is thrown out of the plate here in the bottom of the 9th inning. As Downs comes through with the base hit, ends up moving up to second base, and that will bring up Ira Thomas with the runner on at second base and 2 outs here. Now, bottom of the 9th inning, Thomas rolls a 33 for a 7, and there's your ball game. Thomas gets the base hit, and that will score him, and the Tigers end up winning this one 8-7. Detroit ends up with so many hits, it's almost hard to count. Detroit has Detroit at the end of this game had 16 hits compared to the White Sox 7, and the White Sox had 3 errors compared to the Tigers 2. Chicago leaving 11 men on base, Tigers only leaving 10 men on base, and it was those walks given up to the White Sox that really made the difference in this one. Chicago had a 6-run top of the 6th and couldn't quite hold on to make it count. That's the way this one ends. Hope you enjoy this one. Exciting ball game ending in the bottom of the 9th, and I'll have another one for you tomorrow. Bye-bye.